You said you cannot be putting nothing off that you could do today to tomorrow. You said you not going to be waiting for anybody else to come through and do for you what you know you could do for yourself, especially in this do-it-yourself age. In fact, you even took it a step further. You said you're going to find all the different resources that you can possibly tap into that'll work in your favor, so you can now channel your mind and your attention towards other higher endeavors. You are an advancing individual. You are one that cannot be still. You said the future is not going to be left up to chance. You said the future starts from how you programming it to play out, of course, in conjunction with the divine will. You realized that there were principles put in place, that there was cause and effect. You got to see that as you sow, you will reap, especially if you pay attention and you create the right scenario to enable favorable outcomes. You got to see that you have to cater to your crop. You cannot be out here sowing and you're not doing that which is necessary to make sure that that which you're sowing will yield according to your expectations. And out of all of that, you realize too that you have to give thanks, gratitude. You are grateful. You came in, you saw the soil. It's not as if you had to create soil. You came in, you saw seeds. It's not as if you had to create seeds. Rain, there was already a systematical order in place that was working in your favor. You plugged into it and you made the best out of it. The future you worked on today. My dear brothers and sisters, welcome. Welcome to the Chosen's Path at My Spiritual Friend in Need. I am your very own host, the common denominator. I hope that y'all are feeling excited to tap into this new episode, and I am sure that y'all are blessed and favored wherever you at. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, for following up until this very, very point. We are now looking into tapping into the future that you are working on by establishing the right foundation today. Yes. It is true. What you sow is really what you reap. Cause and effect. You've seen what happens to lazy people. And I'm sure you made up your mind by now that that could not be you. You got to see that working hard is not a bad thing. In fact, it is necessary to keep your mind working accordingly, to keep your body healthy, not overly working yourself right, but with moderation. You don't mind working hard because you don't like being dependent on others. You already established that a long, long time ago. You would rather let your seeds grow and yield more fruits for the future than consume it all today and go hungry tomorrow. It took a lot for you to come to that realization. Just because it was in front of you, just because you were hungry, you did not want to just go ahead and cook that up because you were hungry. In the moment, you decided to let yourself go hungry for a little bit, but you were preserving, you were working, you were mapping, you were shaping. In fact, you were cooking. Yeah, for the future. You understood the laws of cause and effect. You did not give anything up to chance. You understood when you played it all back, when you got to rewind events, you got to see the truth in the principle of cause and effect. It's real. You knew you had to give to receive. There was no way you could just put yourself in a position where you just receive, and did not expect to give. You knew the way the whole entire planet is set up and established. You have to give to receive. So you did not have a problem being kind-hearted. You did not have a problem being generous because you understood. And it is not to say you were foolish with your money. You were sowing spiritual and physical seeds. You understood this principle. You knew where you planted was just as important as the seeds you planted. You could not just take your seeds and go cast it in any soil. You had to make sure that the soil was fertilized and that you had the right manure applied to it, and that soil is not barren. It would definitely get to yield you that which you are expecting. You had to cater to your crop. Really, we are all spiritual farmers in this whole field that we have found ourselves in and on. We have to apply certain principles. You got to realize that. You got to realize that the future was being worked on in the present, and you plugged in accordingly. It wasn't enough that you planted seeds for the future. You knew certain factors could affect the fruitful outcome. You wished and you decided that it was going to go a little bit beyond just hopeful thinking and wishful thinking. You got to realize that you needed to pay attention to these factors that could hinder you from getting to that which you truly desire. You got to realize that you had to take it a step further. You could not just apply fertilizer and manure to the soil and then throw your seed in it and walk away. You got to realize maybe the rain wasn't going to be enough, so maybe you might have to water your seeds. You also got to realize maybe you're going to have to build a fence around your seed because you don't want no animals trampling on the seed and killing it prematurely. You got to realize that you had to step outside of just wishful thinking and also apply your thoughts through observation. And you got to see that from you getting to the bottom of things, you had to calculate risk factors. You can't just look at the fact that you want to harvest. You also got to see that there are so many different factors that contribute to you now wanting to tap into the success that you're going for in the future. My dear brothers and sisters, I hope y'all staying with me. You also got to see that you need to master patience. As a spiritual farmer, you cannot just plant your idea out into the universe and expect to receive your fruit instantly. You realize you had to kill that desire for instant gratification. You got to see that there is a process, and you need to develop the internal patience to endure through this process. Yes, you got to learn to trust the process. When you realize that there is a process in place and you see others apply the same process and they got to the results that you are looking to get to, you also got to see too that you would have to master and apply the wisdom behind patience, and you tapped into it. You developed a supreme work ethic. You knew that it wasn't just working hard just to work hard. You knew you were working hard, heading in a certain direction. You were not just driving fast, but you were driving at a speed that you could handle. People thought you were going too fast, but it was a speed that you could handle because you didn't develop yourself and got to a certain mental state in which you could handle the speed at which you're going. You needed to go faster so you can get to your destination without hurting yourself. So you also applied safety and caution. You made room for more seeds. Yes. You got to see that as you are catering to your crop and as you are seeing it flower, as you are seeing the reality in you getting to reap the fruits of your labor, you also got to see that you had to make room for more seeds. That way you could be beneficial onto others as well. We are definitely tapping into the golden age, and I'm sure that y'all are feeling the internal energy You are reflecting it within your own thought hemisphere, and you are stepping out into the world, and you are echoing your realizations to the best of your ability, with the understanding that you are actually planting seeds as well. You got to see that at the end of the day, the farmer gets to rejoice when he or she gets to receive the bountiful harvest. Yes. And at that point, the farmer isn't even remembering the days of hard work and labor. The farmer is just more engulfed in the joy of the reaping. You got to see that the fruits of your hard work served as motivation for you and others. All that time that you put in, the sleepless nights, you staying up, you doing all that you could with faith and belief. And then when you finally got to reap, it was even more than motivation for you. You knew you couldn't stop at that, and others were also inspired and motivated by you. You had more than enough to be cheerful. You had more than enough to be a cheerful giver. So with all that you got blessed with, not only were you grateful and cheerful, but you also now realize you could be a cheerful giver. It will not take nothing from you. It won't hurt you. More reason for you to say, bless you, universe. Bless you, Father. Bless you, God. More reason for you to bless the highest. You had the opportunity to invest in more, to be of more help to others. Oh yeah. You're getting to see that Thanksgiving comes in so many different ways. It is not just saying it, but now you had it in you. The ability and the capability was activated for you to now even demonstrate it in action. You learned that how you start something is just as important as how you finish it. Some people say it's not how you start it that matters, it's how you finish it. You got to realize how you started is just as important as to how you finishing it. You saw the importance of living in the now while being considerate of tomorrow. Like we established earlier, you could not just cook up all the seeds right now because you're hungry and starving right now. You said, I'm gonna have to save some of this for tomorrow, and you did just that. If you do nothing and take no action, nothing happens. I'm sure you got to see that. You could not just say you're gonna leave it up to God and then it stays there. You could not just leave it up to nothing and then expect that something was just going to materialize out of nothing. There is a process in place to everything, and sometimes we don't really even understand the process. Sometimes things come to us and we think that really it just came to us, but there is a process in place, and when it came for a reason. And we get to see that even though we did not see the cause, that in itself was an effect. And just the fact that there was an effect, we are already in the process of implementing a cause just off of that. You have no need to be jealous of others who work just as hard, because they too are applying the same principles to achieve the same results like you. You looked around and you said, why am I going to be jealous of my neighbor, my brother, my sister, my cousin? Why? When they are applying the same principles of the universe that the Most High, that the Creator put in place for all of us to be able to apply, to be able to coexist, to be able to enjoy this infinite abundance that is ever present for all of us. You could not allow that spirit creep up in your mind. You said there is no way. So you got to see that the future, as it was coming and as you were walking into it, it was being established and created even by you in both subtle and conscious ways. You got to see that what you sowed, be it in thought, be it in action, you would also get to reap. You got to see that you had to cater to your own thoughts, the idea. you had to cater to it. You also got to see that as you trusted the process and you finally got to the end of it, you had to be grateful. And your gratefulness was demonstrated in so many different ways. I'm grateful for y'all, truly, that y'all stay tuned all the way up to the very end, that you listening, and I'm hoping, trusting that you are benefiting somehow, some way from this clip. Share it with somebody else if you think they're gonna benefit from it as well. Do like the video, drop your comments below. It's always greatly appreciated. Let us continue to echo nothing but love, peace, and healing upon the planet to bring about this golden age that has ever been present, but somehow suppressed. Love y'all. Until next time, y'all remain blessed.